reality of the ET presence, and then gets them asking the authorities to solve this problem for them. This is David Icke always used to say, problem, reaction, solution. And if the reality of extraterrestrial existence and contact is presented as a problem, with everybody reacting, saying, help us, what's happening, save us, and tell us the truth, and all this kind of stuff, then all kinds of solutions can be found. Recent conversations I've had with a significant insider who I've been in contact with lead me to believe that the possibility of what Serge Monast called Project Bluebeam, a false flag alien event, a false flag alien attack or a threat of some kind, is very, very much on the cards and is the current plan. This is one thing which I want to bring to this table, the fact that this may be happening. There's no timetable for this that I know of, apart from the fact that it's likely to happen sooner rather than later, and events on the sort of calendar of orchestrated situations which require the population to respond in various ways are sequence-driven, not calendar-driven. My own personal guess, based on what I know, and then I'm going to sit back and listen to you, Kerry, because the echo that I've got is a little hard to talk over, is that sometime in the next 2 or 3 years, we can expect the manufacturing of an ET threat in such a way that makes the population easier to control, demanding the government for solutions, and disclosure may happen in that way rather than in an orderly way, which is rather the argument that Richard put forward. In the meantime, of course, there's a steady drip of information that's been coming through to sort of prepare some of us, the people who are more awake, more aware, and a little ahead of the curve in terms of paying attention. The information is all out there for people to pick up if they are able to do so, if they're equipped to do so. And there's something here about a filter being put in place, that the people who are able to perceive, to absorb, to recognize new information early are the ones who are likely to be better equipped to make it through the coming times. And that can be applied to a number of different areas. I'm going to hand over to Kerry now, because the echo I got is almost unbearable. I do apologize for that. I hope I was reasonably lucid.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Bill. So at this point, I guess I can make a statement in terms of disclosure and where I think things are going with that. And I do apologize for some of the technical problems we're having here, everyone. I would like to say that I think disclosure comes from us. That's really the bottom line. And I appreciate what Richard and David are bringing to the table in terms of their perspective on this matter. I do think that there have been some false flag, if you will, some false starts in terms of disclosure. It may be behind the scenes that we have a president who may be open to the idea, and yet at the same time we have a large contingency that is in power and is keeping the lid on for as long as possible. But at the same time, we're seeing a huge outlay of information in terms of movies right now and television shows that are certainly covering disclosure for all intents and purposes if people just take the time to listen. And what it's very interesting because obviously it's disclosure with the prerogative that that you don't have to admit that that's what's actually happening, and that's what plausible deniability is all about. So I think that what we've got is disclosure with plausible deniability on the part of the powers that be. And that's just going to increase and escalate even. I do believe that we are having some help from off-world civilizations in this regard. I do think that there are ships that are making themselves known, certainly near the sun, for example, places where the powers that be don't really have a control and can't screen them out quite as well as they'd like. Obviously, sightings that are pretty monumental in various places on the globe, and then some interesting anomalous happenings like the blue beam that was in Norway and so on. So those are all part of a kind of a disclosure. I think that the TV show V, as Sean David Morton would say, I don't consider V a movie. I consider it a documentary. I always thought that was a great line. And it's true. I actually do think that V is a documentary of what we're undergoing and what's going on behind the scenes. So we have controllers who are, in some cases, part reptilian, and those would be called, from my understanding, the Syrian Anunnaki. It's a strain of the Anunnaki that has been merged with the reptilians. And they are in control in the background, from what I understand. And I do believe that the Enlil-Enki scenario is still accurate for all intents and purposes. And I think that that we are having a return. I think David's right. I think we are having a return of I would call them the Anunnaki. And I believe that some of those beings are here and have been here for quite some time. I think obviously there's a huge group of humanity that has lots of Anunnaki blood from varying degrees. I do think it's a bloodline battle going on here on Earth. And when you boil everything down, I think it comes down to bloodlines. I think that's what the powers that be are all concerned with. I think that that's why they're fighting the wars they're fighting. I think that they are also trying to gain control of stargates, such as in Iraq, and that they had to get rid of Saddam Hussein simply because he started communicating with the beings that were coming through the Stargate there, among other things. And I think that the Gulf of Aden is another place that's actually a more, like, if you will, a hot spot for Stargate activity. And I think if you really want to know what's going on the planet, you need to be paying attention to the Stargates and the vortexes and the activity in energy centers or energetic centers on the Earth at this time, because as we move into the galactic center in alignment, as they say, and as these astrological alignments are happening, the energetics, as well as what's happening with this wave, which, as Paul LaViolette says, is incoming, and in which our witness Jake Simpson said that they sent superluminal craft out beyond our solar system and were able to see the wave approaching, and that was quite some time ago. I would say those waves are already making themselves felt. I do think that Andy Lloyd is correct in terms of the brown dwarf, and what may be Nibiru is a planet that circulates around the brown dwarf that is on its way in. Whether or not that's a catastrophic happening, I don't know. I see a lot of very positive things in the future, to tell you the truth. And it sounds strange, but I can feel my own DNA changing, and I think that people who are willing to accept this and to use intent, meditation, and positive sort of orientation in that direction will bring a lot of energy in that will allow them to transform themselves, and I think that probably scares the shit out of the powers that be more than any single other thing going on this planet. So that's my statement, and I'd like to now go back to Richard and open it up for a little more detail in terms of what you originally opened up with, but also to drill down a bit. And then if I find that that there are areas in which I need to question you or get a little more explanation, I will interrupt, but try to do it very, very carefully and very nicely in this case, okay? So let's go back to Richard, all right? Okay, Richard, now I've got you.